We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Giving fresh impetus to connectivity for eastern Indian state of Jharkhand, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lay foundation stone and dedicate various railway projects to the nation worth over 6.6 billion in Tatanagar to flag off 6 new Vande Bharat trains in Jharkhand. Russia warns the West and Ukraine with an uncontrolled escalation of war as Western leaders debate allowing Ukraine to use their weapons for strikes deep into the Russian territory. Thousands of anti-government protesters rally across Israel, demand efforts from Netanyahu for release of hostages held in Gaza. India's national public service broadcaster Doordarshan completes 65 years of its glorious existence, connecting with the masses. India's javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra finishes second in Diamond League final behind Anderson Peters. Our top story, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on a visit to eastern state of Jharkhand on Sunday. PM Modi will travel to Tatanagar in Jharkhand and lay the foundation stone and dedicate to the nation various railway projects worth more than 6.6 billion rupees through video conferencing. He will lay the foundation stone for Madhupur bypass line in Deoghar district and Hazaribagh town coaching depot in Hazaribagh district of Jharkhand. The Prime Minister will also dedicate to the nation Kurkura Kanarwa doubling, which is a part of Bondamunda Ranchi single line section and part of Rourkela Gomo route via Ranchi, Muri and Chandrapura stations. The project will help in the increased mobility of goods and passenger traffic considerably. Apart from this, 4 road under bridges shall also be dedicated to the nation for enhancing safety to the common people. The Prime Minister will flag off 6 Vande Bharat trains. The state-of-the-art Vande Bharat Express trains will improve the connectivity on these routes: Tatanagar to Patna, Bhagalpur, Dumka, Havda, Brahmapur, Tatanagar, Gaya, Havda, Deoghar, Varanasi, Rourkela, Havda. And the introduction of these Vande Bharat Express trains will benefit regular travellers, professionals, business and student community. And in line with his commitment for housing for all, Prime Minister will distribute sanction letters to 20,000 Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen beneficiaries from Jharkhand. He will release the first installment of assistance to the beneficiaries. The Prime Minister will also participate in Greh Pravesh celebrations of 46,000 beneficiaries. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has completed his 2 days important visit to Switzerland that also hosts some of the major UN offices. In a special gesture, Swiss Foreign Minister Ignacio Casas hosted the External Affairs Minister in Geneva, where the two leaders held wide-ranging discussions on bilateral ties focused on leveraging the trade agreement between India and 4-nation European bloc EFTA, which includes Switzerland. The leaders also discussed global and regional issues of mutual interest. He was on a 2-day visit to Switzerland, where he also interacted with the leadership of international organizations in Geneva, including the United Nations High Commission and World Health Organization. He shared India's approach to multilateralism with dignitaries. As the conflict between Russia and Ukraine crosses the 900-day mark, the Russian Defense Ministry announced that both the countries have exchanged total 206 prisoners of war on Saturday, 103 from either side. All the exchanged Russian soldiers are now in Belarus. The United Arab Emirates facilitated the exchange through humanitarian mediation. Ukrainian authorities said on Saturday that this was the second exchange in 2 days. In a telegram post, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that 103 Ukrainian military personnel, including 21 officers, had been released. Meanwhile, Russian officials have threatened the West and Ukraine on Saturday with an uncontrolled escalation of war and destruction of Kiev as Western leaders debate allowing Ukraine to use their weapons for strikes deep into the Russian territory. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said late on Friday that his plan to achieve victory depended on Washington's decision, a clear reference to the authorization for long-range strikes that Kiev has long sought from NATO allies. Following a meeting in Kiev with his Ukrainian counterpart, Poland's Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski has said that ending social benefits for Ukrainian male refugees would benefit state finances in host countries in Western Europe, adding that the measure would help Ukraine call up more troops to fight Russian forces. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha has welcomed Sikorski's call. Ukraine has adopted a new legislation this year that includes lowering the call-up age for combat duty to 25 from 27. Under the new law, Kiev ordered Ukrainian men living abroad to renew their military draft information online and encouraging them to return and fight for Ukraine. And as clashes continue from both sides in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, the Russian Defense Ministry said in a daily briefing it had liberated the village of Zelenpersh near the key logistics hub of Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk lies on the intersection of a key road that supplies Ukrainian troops and towns across the eastern front and has long been a target for Moscow's army. Over half of the city's 60,000 residents have fled since the conflict began in February 2022, with evacuations ramping up in recent weeks as Moscow's army closes in. While Ukraine had hoped its major cross-border incursion into the Kursk region last month would slow down Russia's advances in the east, Russia, however, has claimed this week to have taken back some of its territory in the western Kursk region in a counter-offensive. Thousands of people continue to protest in Israel, demanding that the government strikes a deal with Hamas to ensure the release of hostages held in Gaza. In Tel Aviv, clashes erupted between police officers and protesters during a highway blockade. Mass street protests resumed in Israel after the IDF discovered bodies of 6 hostages in a Gaza tunnel. The Israeli forces said that captives were shot at close range by Hamas. Around 100 hostages remain in Gaza, at least a third of whom are believed to be dead. And in a final push to secure Wisconsin, Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz urged supporters on Saturday to give their all as the race tightens. Speaking in Superior, Wisconsin, Walz, running alongside Kamala Harris in the heated battle against Donald Trump, called the swing state a battlefield. He encouraged the crowd to have hard conversations with friends and neighbors to rally support for Harris. Walz also called on men to listen to smart women in their lives, referencing pop icon Taylor Swift, a fellow cat owner whose endorsement of Harris gained over 9 million likes on Instagram. With Wisconsin critical to the campaign, Walz emphasized the importance of every vote in the final stretch.
Kamala Harris did her job Tuesday night. We need to do our job for the next 52 days. Now, I'll go to my grave not understanding why, but I know it's a fact. This is going to be a margin of error race, and it's going to be won in a handful of states. One of them is the state of Wisconsin. So let me, as these guys help me with, put on that coach whistle and get that hat back on. This thing's going to be a battle for the next 52 days.
Pope Francis' recent comments have sparked debate among U.S. Catholics as they prepare to vote in the upcoming election. During a flight back to Rome, the Pope urged Catholics to choose the lesser evil, criticizing both former President Donald Trump's plan to deport millions of immigrants and Vice President Kamala Harris' stance on abortion rights. His remarks have stirred emotions at New York's St. Patrick Cathedral, where some voters voiced surprise and uncertainty. With 52 million Catholics in the US, their influence could be crucial in the upcoming election.
In my estimation, I can only vote for the person who has the most qualities or characteristics of principle that I could rely on, in which case the lesser of two evils is kind of a compromise.
Lesser of two evils, whichever one you vote for, you are going to, in your mind, no matter if you think they're great, it's still probably going to be the lesser of two terrible choices.
I'm not a person who likes the idea of choosing any evils, so I personally am probably not going to vote this time because I am tired of aligning to what I feel is evil.
We have to educate ourselves about these candidates. We have to get to know more about them before voting. It's not about what the Pope says.
And in a key endorsement ahead of the presidential election, former President and Republican nominee Donald Trump secured the backing of Las Vegas Police Protective Association on Saturday. During the event, Trump expressed gratitude for the support while taking a swipe at Vice President Kamala Harris, criticizing her past experience as a prosecutor. And U.S. Republican Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance made a campaign stop in Greenville, North Carolina on Saturday, rallying support just hours before the East Carolina versus Appalachian State football game. Vance, accompanied by his wife Usha, visited a local sports bar, engaging with patrons, posing for photos and urging voters to back the Republican ticket in the upcoming presidential election. As the election draws near, Vance's visit aimed to energize voters in North Carolina, a key battleground state that could play a decisive role in this race. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. As part of the International Coastal Cleanup Day on September 21st, volunteers descended on the historic Robben Island coastline with bags in hand to gather plastic and other waste that washed up on the beach and between the rocks and shrubs. Robben Island is a World Heritage Site. More than 100 volunteers took the 30-minute ferry ride from the Table Bay Harbour to participate in the cleanup. London-born designer Richard Quinn brought bold designs to the catwalk at London Fashion Week as the UK capital hosted international fashionistas for a second day. His collection saw models in flowery, sparkling sequin and brightly flowered dresses. A live choir and orchestra provided music. Florals adorned some of the designs. London Fashion Week 2024 runs until September 17th, marking 40 years of the fashion event. Artists came together on a group of sandbanks in southern Croatia to create elaborate yet fleeting sand art. The Sand Art Neretva Festival at the mouth of Croatia's Neretva River brings together artists from across the world to celebrate the ephemeral practice of drawing in the shifting sandbanks. The artists used rakes and sticks to create intricate designs visible from above, marking the 4th year of annual Sand Art Neretva Festival. Russian amateur gardener broke national records by growing an 817 kg pumpkin, about the average weight of a bull, at a competition in Russia's oldest botanical garden. The competition was part of the annual autumn festival at the garden. Following the competition, the giant pumpkin and a variety of other vegetables are put on display for the visitors. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Families fear hunger after northeast Nigeria floods. An update on SpaceX's historic spacewalk mission. And India's emerging talent Anmol Kharab secures her maiden international title at the senior level. Double Paralympic gold medalist Avni Lekra is with us. Tell us, how big is Paris gold medal for you?
It's a really big thing for me to be able to go there and, when another gold medal defending my title. This was a little tougher and challenging.
What has changed in Avni in the last 3-4 years?
Pressure was much more this time, I think, from my side, because always when you know that you can do it, you have your own expectations, the expectations of the country.
Which is closer to your heart, Tokyo or Paris?
I mean, Tokyo was my first,
Yeah.
so a little 0.1%.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. The aftermath of flooding in Nigeria's northeast is raising alarming humanitarian concerns as thousands face displacement, and a sharp triple-digit increase in prices threatens the food security of already vulnerable population. Floods that swept through Nigeria's northeastern Borno state have affected up to 1 million people. Authorities scramble to rescue residents and put them in temporary shelters. Torrential weather batters Czechia at least 4 people have died in Central and Eastern Europe due to floods. Residents of some towns along the Czech-Polish border were evacuated as rivers rose past alert levels, while the Czech capital Prague, which suffered catastrophic floods in 2002, put preventive anti-flood measures in place. More rainfall is forecast in coming days in Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, southern Germany and parts of Austria. Storm Boris floods Romanian village. At least 4 people died and thousands of homes were damaged by flooding in eastern Romania. Tens of thousands of households were left without power in Romania. Prime Minister Marcel visited hard-hit county. Authorities there had set up temporary relief camps with accommodation for displaced people. Evacuations and preparations were underway across Central Europe as heavy rains caused severe flooding in areas from Romania to Poland. Residents of southern Poland lay sandbags outside their homes as water from the river Baila floods their town streets. With the passage of Storm Boris, the torrential rain that has been falling since Friday is set to last until Monday, threatening the region with the worst flooding in decades in Poland. Poland and parts of Austria are also expected to see more heavy rain. Migrants arrive on Cayuco boats at La Restinga port on the Canary Island in Spain. A steep rise in the number of arrivals of migrants in Spain's Canary Islands from Africa has fueled a fierce debate in the country over how to tackle illegal immigration. Over 22,000 migrants have landed in the Canary Islands so far this year, compared to just under 10,000 during the same time last year. India's President Draupadi Murmu, in her message on the eve of Onam, extended her best wishes to all Indians living in India and abroad on the auspicious occasion. In a message, the President said that the festival of joy and enthusiasm is celebrated to mark the harvesting of crops, and that we express our deep gratitude to the farmers who work tirelessly to feed our nation. And the Harvest Festival from the state of Kerala, Onam, is being celebrated across UAE. Today is Uttradham, the first day of celebrations, with Malayalis preparing for the main event, Thiruvonam, on Sunday. With a large Keralite community in UAE, Onam has become one of UAE's most eagerly awaited cultural events, showcasing the country's rich multiculturalism. And operating in the beginning from the premises of the then All India Radio, Doordarshan, India's national public service broadcaster, has come a long way in connecting with the masses. On this day in 1959, it completes 65 years of its glorious existence. DD India's Tanvi Taneja reports.
Doordarshan means the glimpse of all afar in Hindi. It started as a modest telecast experiment on 15th of September in 1959. A leading European company exhibited its closed-circuit TV equipment at an international exposition in India in 1959. At the end of the expo, the equipment was gifted to the people of India. In the beginning, television transmission was limited to half an hour, twice a week, with the program content reflecting the developmental priorities of the nation. The viewership was confined to members of 20 tele-clubs started by the government in Delhi. Bulky and expensive television sets were provided for community viewing. Subsequently, 250 schools in Delhi joined the viewers and programming focused on educational content. This was the genesis of Krishi Darshan, a program dedicated to the farmers. Almost unnoticed at first, news in Hindi made a humble beginning in 1965 with the transmission limited to a very short range in the vicinity of the national capital. By 1972, Doordarshan services were extended to Mumbai and Amritsar and then on to 7 other cities by 1975. Doordarshan and All India Radio were bifurcated on April 1st, 1976. Subsequently, a signature tune was composed by Pandit Ravi Shankar. This ushered in an era of self-confident assertion. The years that followed saw Doordarshan News breaking many barriers. Reporters were sent out to cover national and international events. The coverage of the Asian Games in 1982 was a major turning point, with New Delhi playing the host. Colored TV was introduced on the eve of the Asian Games. The country even saw the Indian victory of the Cricket World Cup in 1983 on Doordarshan. Indians were spellbound as Doordarshan telecast the first Indian cosmonaut, Rakesh Sharma, orbiting in space. Doordarshan was coming of age. This was the time when some of the programs of Doordarshan became blockbusters. Programs like Hum Log, Bunyad were powerfully evoking a magical spell over audiences. We've all heard from our elders as to how the streets of India used to be deserted when the mythological series Ramayana was telecast in the late 1980s. Many other long-running series were setting the standards of TV broadcasting. Mahabharat, Bharate Khoj, Malgudi Days, Ghalib, Circus were all real blockbusters of the time. Cut to the 21st century. In an age of the breaking news, Doordarshan continues to maintain its tradition of providing accurate and up-to-date content to its viewers. Its own English international channel, DD India, caters to not only domestic but international audiences. It proudly collaborates with other public broadcasters like that of Germany's DW and many other independent news agencies.
UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak.
Over the years, Doordarshan has carried the aspirations of a billion-plus population and remained conscious of its responsibilities of a public service broadcaster. On 15 September today, we from the entire Doordarshan family invite you to be a part of our celebration. Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
Celebrating 65 years of Doordarshan, a pillar of Indian broadcasting. Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The Border Security Force recently organized a cleanliness drive at Ramnagar railway station as part of the Swachhta Hi Seva 2024 campaign. This initiative is in line with the government's larger mission to promote cleanliness and hygiene across the country. BSF personnel actively participated in the drive, working to clean the station premises, platforms and surrounding areas. Such efforts aim to spread cleanliness awareness, encouraging people to adopt sustainable habits. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana drive have brought significant relief to the people of Rajouri, a district in Jammu and Kashmir. These initiatives have played a key role in addressing both housing and employment challenges in this region, which has historically faced socio-economic difficulties due to its geographical isolation and border proximity. The initiative also helps in boosting local construction industries, creating jobs and stimulating economic activity. A voter awareness program recently organized in Srinagar, Systematic Voters Education and Electoral Participation Initiative. The primary goal of this program was to educate and encourage eligible citizens to actively participate in the electoral process, thereby strengthening democracy. The event focused on spreading awareness about the importance of voting, particularly among first-time voters, women and marginalized sections of society. The second phase of the Indian Air Force Tarang Shakti 2024 exercise has commenced, marking a significant development in India's defence preparedness. This large-scale exercise is part of a series of military drills aimed at enhancing operational readiness, improving joint coordination and strengthening the capabilities of the Indian Air Force across various domains of air warfare. An update on SpaceX's historic spacewalk mission, the SpaceX Polaris Dawn mission, which conducted the first ever spacewalk by non-government astronauts, is returning to Earth on Sunday. The splashdown to Earth is scheduled to take place off the coast of dry Tortugas, Florida. A live webcast will be carried by SpaceX starting around an hour beforehand. The four-member team, led by fintech billionaire Jed Isaacman, launched from the Kennedy Space Center on Tuesday, quickly journeying deeper into the cosmos than any humans in the past half-century as they ventured into the dangerous Van Allen radiation belt. And world champion Neeraj Chopra fell short of winning the men's javelin throw event at the Diamond League final by just 1 centimeter in Brussels, capital of Belgium. Neeraj Chopra's throw of 87.86 meter was second best in the finals. Grenada's Anderson Peters won his first Diamond League title with an effort of 87.87 meters, while Julian Weber of Germany was third. This was Neeraj Chopra's fifth appearance at the Diamond League final. He had become the first Indian to win a Diamond League trophy in 2022. And India's emerging talent Anmol Kharab secured her maiden international title at the senior level by winning the Belgian International Badminton Women's Singles event in Leuven. The 17-year-old Indian badminton player defeated Denmark's Amelie Schulz 24-22, 12-21, 21-10 in a hard-fought final. Anmol, who made it to the main draw from the qualifiers and was unseeded, had won all her matches en route to the semi-finals in straight games. All her main round opponents were ranked higher than her. And the Indian tennis team found itself on the back foot on the opening day of the Davis Cup World Group 1 tie against Sweden. Ramkumar Ramanathan and Sriram Balaji have lost their matches in Stockholm. Balaji lost the opening match against Sweden's number 1 Elias Gamma 6-4, 6-2, while Ramkumar Ramanathan lost to Leo Bort 6-3, 6-4 in the second match. India and Sweden have played 2 of the 5 matches on Saturday. The remaining 3 matches of the tie are scheduled on Sunday, which will feature 1 doubles and 2 single matches if needed. The Indian tennis team is yet to win the Davis Cup but has finished runners-up thrice in 1966, 1974 and 1987. Well, that's all for this edition on DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.